Hello, and welcome to this edition of Tukwila, Your Community. Today we are joined by both Nora Gearloff, the Deputy Director for the City of Tukwila's Department of Community Development, as well as Laura Benjamin, Assistant Planner for the Department of Community Development. Nora and Laura, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Crystal.
Thanks, it's great to be here.
Let's dive right in. What is a comprehensive plan, and why does Tukwila have one?
Well, the whole focus of planning is really getting a community together and coming up with a vision for the future that everyone can buy into. And so a comprehensive plan is writing that down in a way that's accessible to everyone and that we can set out measurable milestones and goals toward moving toward that vision.
How can the comprehensive plan shape the community?
A big part of the comprehensive plan is deciding where we should get new housing and jobs. And so it's figuring out what parts of the community we should really focus growth, and then coming up with analysis to make sure that we can accommodate the growth in those areas, making sure that we have utilities and roads that can meet the needs of those new people. That's called concurrency. And then also looking at our regulations and making sure that we're providing incentives and making it easy for developers to build the kinds of development that we want to see in the places that we want to see it.
Right. The comprehensive plan talks of big ideas. How are these ideas put into specific actions across the community?
Well, lots of different ways, but one really good example is we heard a lot when we talked to the community about how important it was for their kids to be healthy and safe. And so we got together with schools and teachers and kids and looked at obstacles to having people walk to school. Mm-hmm. So we found some places that really needed some safety improvements, and we applied for some safe routes to school grants. Mm-hmm. And we were able to build 2 sections of sidewalk and a crosswalk. And so now it's a lot easier for kids to get to and from Cascade View Elementary. So we're hitting those goals of safety and health and providing a more walkable community.
Right on.
Do you have an example, Laura?
Yeah. So as Nora said, the comprehensive plan helps guide how the city spends its budget and also on how we develop regulations. So we're looking at policies right now on how single-family homes that are new to the neighborhood can fit into the neighborhood and kind of be consistent with homes that have been there and kind of the historic character. Mm-hmm. So we'll have policies in the comprehensive plan, and then following that, we'll be looking at development regulations. It'll be more the specifics of how people can build homes that make sure that it meets everyone's needs and preserves character.
Let's move on to housing in residential neighborhoods. Tell us a bit more about housing and residential neighborhood elements. What is the purpose of these 2 elements?
Great. So we're working on the housing and residential neighborhoods elements right now. They're
Mm-hmm.
still in draft form. Housing really looks at our housing stock. So what kind of housing do we have? How much of it do we have? What's the age, the price, the size? Mm-hmm. And we're not only looking at what we have now, but looking at what we need to build in the future. Mm-hmm. To make sure that we're meeting our growing population needs. Mm-hmm. So it's creating new housing, improving the housing we have, and preserving housing for the future. And for residential neighborhoods, that has more to do with the look and the feel of neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. And how development is in a neighborhood. So that would be how buildings fit in, sidewalks, street widths, front porches, things like that. When you walk through a neighborhood, just kind of that feeling you get.
Yeah.
So with that, we're looking at kind of what makes a good neighborhood and seeing what's working well in the city and where are some areas where we can improve.
Okay. In regards to housing, what has changed since the last update, and how does the city plan to address these changes?
So we've been looking at a lot of data. A lot has changed over the past 10 years. Our population has grown. We have new residents who have different needs, different household size, things like that. So we really were taking a look at what kind of housing is in the city, how much does it cost, how old is it, things like that, where is it located. Mm-hmm. And from that, we found that 2 main things we're going to focus on are housing condition. So mm-hmm. most of the housing in the city is over 40 years old. Yep. So older housing requires more maintenance, mm-hmm.
which
can cost more money, and especially for folks who are older or maybe
mm-hmm.
who can't do the improvements themselves, that can be challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And then also looking at the price of homes and at affordability. Tukwila historically has provided a lot of housing for folks who have about a middle income, and we're continuing to do that. But housing prices are raising in Tukwila and across the region. So we're looking at what we can do about that, and also for folks who maybe have lower income, what are some options for that?
Okay. In regards to residential neighborhoods, what has changed since the last update, and how does the city plan to address those changes?
So again, with residential neighborhoods, just like with housing, we looked at a lot of data to figure out what's working well and what we can improve, and also talking to residents to figure out what they like in their neighborhoods and what they'd like to see change. So from that, there were 3 big things we found there. The first was housing options. So right now, most of the city's housing is single-family homes, smaller, older single-family homes, and then apartments in large apartment complexes. So we're trying to find some other options so people can live in Tukwila their whole life. As a young adult, maybe you live in an apartment, you have a new family, you live in a home, you get older, your kids go off to college, so you get an apartment again, maybe you go into senior housing later on. So really trying to expand that range of housing for both renters and owners. Another thing we're looking into is making sure that infill, which is building homes in existing communities, which is what most of our new housing is going to be, making sure that that fits into the neighborhood. So really trying to find that balance between encouraging development, that we want to grow, we want people to come to Tukwila and enjoy the city, but also making sure that we're preserving the character of neighborhoods, and that people who already live here are enjoying their quality of life. And then lastly is sidewalks. This is something we've heard from residents over and over again, is they would like more sidewalks and to be able to walk from their house maybe to a corner store, grab a carton of milk and walk home. And that ties into what Nora was talking about with safety as well. So those are 3 things we're looking at.
Great. What issues have you heard are the most important in this community?
So throughout the update process for the comprehensive plan, we really put a focus on talking to the community, to residents, guests, the business community, city staff, just making sure everyone has a chance to have their voice heard and to provide feedback on the work we're doing. Sidewalks are a big thing we've heard about, especially for children, maybe people who don't have cars, just having access to walk around, feeling safe. That's been a big one. Also with homes, having more options. We had a few events last year where we actually had a visual preference survey where we had different pictures of different types of houses and sidewalks and streets and things like that, and people got green dots and red dots, and you could put green dots by things you liked and red dots by things you didn't. So it was really interesting that we had residents and community members from all different backgrounds, all different ages, and there really was consensus on people really like the traditional Pacific Northwest style home that you see in a lot of Tukwila. So that's something that we're going to keep in mind and really make sure that we can try and create a vision that promotes that kind of growth.
That's great, very interactive, that's awesome. So with regard to Tukwila International Boulevard, the City of Tukwila has focused lots of energy on the Tukwila International Boulevard in the past several years. Tell us about some of these changes and actions.
So the Tukwila International Boulevard area was annexed into the city in 1989 and 90. So it's been in the city for 25 years now, and it's been a real focus of effort on behalf of the council and the community. So we've, the first comp plan that came out in 1995, it was the #1 priority to improve the conditions in that area. So the city's done a lot of work over the years. Probably the most visible thing that they've done is reconstructing Tukwila International Boulevard. So new roadway, center medians, plantings, curb, gutter, sidewalks, street trees, street lights. It's, I think, made a real visual difference to the area. And then we've tried to also follow up on what kind of neighborhood does that area want to be? I think we've always thought of it as, you know, it was Highway 99 and now it's Tukwila International Boulevard corridor, and now we're trying to really look at it as a neighborhood. There's lots of people who live there who want to make it their home, and how do we make it work for them? And so we've heard lots of different things, as Laura was saying, when we went out to the community. People want to be able to walk, they want those signalized crosswalks, they have people who want to have that cozy neighborhood feel and calm the traffic on the street, have it go lower speed so it's more comfortable for people to walk along there. Had that really function as a main street that you could walk along and go shopping, go to a restaurant, go to the library. So we're really looking at ways to make those changes in the area. We've done Tukwila Village is a project that we're really excited about. City spent quite a few years assembling the parcels for that site and then trying to find a developer who matched our vision. We really wanted someone to do it right and not take the first offer that came along.
Yeah.
So we found that now, and they're starting construction, and it'll be several hundred units of senior housing, which is kind of what Laura was talking about, that housing for all segments of our community.
Yeah.
There'll be a plaza and a community space so we can hold city events there.
Great.
And then also have some stores and hopefully some restaurants, so we'll really have that mixed use feel where people can come together in the heart of a neighborhood. One of the things that's also happened at the same time that's really made that possible is the city cooperated with the federal government to shut down 3 sort of crime-ridden motels in that area. And so the city has bought that property and will be redeveloping it. We're hoping that people will want to do more things like the Tukwila Village example in that area. And it's really made a huge change that violent crime is down 50% since those motels were closed.
Great news.
And overall calls for service down 28%. So
Wow.
really concrete things that the city can do to improve the life in that area. It's been really excited about the changes that are happening.
Great. The city has been talking a lot with residents and businesses in the Tukwila International Boulevard area. What are the biggest concerns that they have, and how are these concerns being addressed in the Tukwila International Boulevard element?
Well, some of those same kinds of things. So it was really important to us that we hear from the full range of community, and so we started the Community Connectors program, and that was providing neighborhood residents who spoke the different languages that we find in that area to reach out directly to those communities to make sure that everyone felt comfortable in participating in this process, because we really wanted to hear from the full range of people who live and work in that area. And so we were really successful. We had 8 different languages at one of our events, and really felt like we got a good cross-section of people. Different language groups as well as age groups, and residents as well as business people. And it was surprising how consistent the things we heard were, that a lot of people tend to really have the same concerns even though they come from such different backgrounds. That public safety, of course, was a question, and we talked about how the motels are really making a big improvement in that. Pedestrian safety, that really looking for ways to have more crossings of Tukwila International Boulevard so people don't dart out across traffic in ways we know that aren't safe. Looking at ways to get more sidewalks. It's expensive, but we've been doing it, bit by bit as we're able. And then the Tukwila Village project, which we think will bring a new population to the area and create more eyes on the street, more people walking around.
Yeah. With regards to Tukwila International Boulevard, what has changed since the last update?
Well, one of the big things that's changed is the population of the people who live there. We've really seen a striking increase in diversity in the area, and they brought a real richness and international flavor to that area. And so that's one of the things we've heard during this outreach process, is that people really want to show that as a strength. How can we use that international flavor as a draw to make people want to be there and explore the different kinds of restaurants that we have and really feel that multicultural community. So making sure that we celebrate that and come up with ways to reflect that in our plans and our actions.
Wonderful. So moving on to opportunities for involvement. It sounds like the city has done a lot of creative outreach to residents across the city. Are there upcoming opportunities for the community to get involved and to provide feedback?
We do. We have quite a few upcoming opportunities this spring and summer.
Okay.
First up in May, on May 20th, so it's right around the corner, we're having an open house.
Okay.
Where we'll be showcasing the draft goals and policies for the TIB element.
Okay.
It's from 4:30 to 6:30 at the Valley View Sewer building on TIB.
Okay.
And it's really a chance for folks to just stop by, see what staff has proposed as updates to the element, and to let us know what they think. And then as part of the adoption policy with the comprehensive plan, each element goes through a hearing process, both with the Planning Commission and the City Council. So we'll be having Planning Commission public hearings in May and June.
Okay.
And then we'll be going to City Council starting in August. So those are also opportunities for residents, guests, business community members to come and share their feedback.
Great. Coming right up. Good opportunity. So lastly, moving on to the schedule for completion and next steps. When will the update be completed?
We're planning to have the update be completed by the end of 2015.
Right.
As I mentioned before, we'll be going to City Council for review and public hearings in August, and hoping to have that be wrapped up in a few months. So by the end of the year, we should have a fully adopted comprehensive plan.
That's exciting. What will happen after the comprehensive plan updates are completed?
Well, you know, that's our opportunity to really put this into play. I really want to make a pitch for people to get involved and express their thoughts on this. It might seem like, oh, it's a report, but it really is a tool to guide the city's day-to-day actions. That we really want to make sure that all the decisions that the council makes and all the decisions that staff implements are really leading us toward that vision that we've laid out. So the budgeting decisions that the city makes, the rules that the city puts into place, we talked about development standards for houses, like how tall can your house be or how close to your neighbors. All of those things are guided by this vision that we've set out in the comprehensive plan. So over the next couple years, we'll be looking at the policies that we have in that plan and looking at our existing regulations and going through and re-examining what we need to do to make sure that they really get put into place and we move our city towards that goal.
Lastly, Nora and Laura, what makes Tukwila your community? Feel free to jump in.
You know, I've been here quite a few years and I really enjoyed seeing how the community has grown and changed, and there were some very ambitious ideas in that 1995 comprehensive plan, but as we went through the update, it was amazing how many things we've managed to do. Certainly we have lofty goals and there's still lots of things to move toward, but the community really has set that vision and let itself be guided by it, and I really enjoy working in a community like that.
That's great. What about you, Laura?
I'm relatively new to the city, and it's been a wonderful experience since my first day working with staff and residents in the business community. That it feels like a community. People know you by name. It's really welcoming, and that's something I've really enjoyed. And that people care about their community.
Yes.
People come to events when you ask them for their input on as we've been creating this vision. They take it really seriously, and they have thoughts that they're willing to share with us. And I think it's really great to see that people, young and old, new to the city, been here for a long time, that they're really invested in it.
That's awesome. Well, once again, we really appreciate you both joining us today. Thank you so much for your hard work and dedication to this comprehensive plan. The City of Tukwila's future looks very bright because of it. And thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to the next edition, and remember, Tukwila is your community.